In this video, I'll be reviewing this 65% win rate Nocturne player who is in the top 50 on the EU West server. In every single game that this Nocturne plays, he always starts with a top side leash and full clears towards the bottom lane. This is because he wants to target the enemy ADC when he hits level 6, so he can ulti them every single time it's up. You can see he just pinged where the enemy jungler started on the map. We saw that the enemy bot lane showed up late, and this means that Kha'Zix started on his red buff and he is actually pathing towards the top side. So this is really good for Nocturne because when he will have his ulti, he's going to be able to gank that enemy ADC uncontested by the Kha'Zix. You can see for the camp clear on Nocturne, it's quite hands off. You pretty much just stand still and clear the camp. And when it's low, that's when you start kiting it. So you can actually save a little bit of time going to the next one. And make sure when you're doing your kiting that you're using your Q to get the next camp to come towards you when you can, like Nocturne is doing right here. We can see here that Kha'Zix is looking for a cheesy gank on the mid lane. He did 4 camps, which we know by him having 16 CS, which means he's level 3. And now Nocturne is just about to finish off his blue buff here. This is going to give him level 4. So this is definitely a fight they could take, especially with that health advantage. This is definitely something Nocturne would want to look for. Also, especially with that bottom lane prio, we can see Janna is right behind him. And here, Nocturne is not afraid at all of fighting the Kha'Zix because he does have backup here from Janna and Orianna prio. And he is a level up on the Kha'Zix here, so he does flash to force out his flash. This makes it so Kha'Zix ganks won't be as effective later on. And this is really good for him because we know these Raptors are going to be up. Kha'Zix only did 4 camps, and this is going to be an easy way for Nocturne to get a lead right now before heading up for the crab. And just note that if the scenario here was reversed with Nocturne not having priority, he would have just left the bottom crab. He wouldn't have even checked it, and he would have went to secure the top crab so that Kha'Zix doesn't get a free double crab. We can see that bottom lane is fighting here. Kalista died, and this is not a good fight for Nocturne to react to, especially being pre-6. So he's just going to recall here so he can get back to base and get back towards his top side. This Janna tornado is actually super clean. We can see that Nocturne is back here on the top side farming his Krugs so he can continue his full clear, but he does have prio in his top lane here, so as soon as he finishes up with these Krugs, he's going to be level 5 and he's going to look to contest that crab away from Kha'Zix because we know it's still up. Kha'Zix did red, blue Gromp Wolves, ganked mid and then showed up on the bot crab. And then Nocturne took his Raptors. Kha'Zix has 20 CS, so he did his Krugs. So the only camps he actually has up are his top camps, which means this top crab is up. As you can see, Kha'Zix is also here. And with the Orianna for support and the top lane priority, this one will be going over to Nocturne. We can see obviously that Kha'Zix wants to contest this. Unfortunately, Yone is over the wall while Gnar is pushing out the top lane. But this is going to be a 1-for-1, and looks like maybe this will actually go bad because Gnar wasn't around and Singed did rotate. So the opportunity there did fall out of time. But I wouldn't really call this a mistake from the Nocturne. It would have been reasonable to expect that Yone was back in base, and it was more so a fault on Gnar for not rotating. And also just a really good roam from the enemy Karma because she let her Singed get priority to rotate to the crab while Orianna had to catch her wave. So Nocturne's just going to be back here resuming with the full clear finally because he's going to be hitting his level 6 pretty soon. And just for jungle tracking, it would be reasonable to expect that Kha'Zix will be on his bottom side soon because after that crab, he would take his top camps and then he won't have anything to do around the top side anymore. Also, we can see that the first buff is spawning for both Nocturne and Kha'Zix, so it'll also be reasonable to expect him to be there back for his first buff respawn. Nocturne just hit level 6, he has mid lane priority. It looks like he should have bot lane priority here soon as well. So this is just a free dragon for him to take here, if not an ulti onto the Jinx here, because we do not see Karma. And there it is, Nocturne level 6, free ultis. This is absolutely disgusting to play against as an ADC, and you can see this is why he pathed towards the bottom lane, because by the time he's finished with his second clear, if he leeches just a few minions of XP, then he's gonna have his level 6, and it's just unplayable for an ADC who's squishy, level 5, and especially if they don't have summoners, there's not really much they can do against a Nocturne ulti. Nocturne is back here for the full clear while he waits for his ulti to come off cooldown. You can see the pings coming out there on Kha'Zix's top side jungle, because we know Kha'Zix was on his bottom side while we were doing Dragon, and he obviously will be on the top side where his camps have respawned. Instead of continuing the clear here, Nocturne is going to push out the mid lane because his Orianna went for a roam on the bottom lane, and he doesn't want this wave to slow push into Singed and deny his own team gold and experience. After this, you can see he's walking into the top river here because he's expecting the Kha'Zix to be on the Herald, and as soon as we see Karma there for backup, we are out of there. But if we saw just the Kha'Zix there alone, we could have probably 1v1'd him because we are 7 while he's 6. And we are quite strong. 2-2-2. He sees the Singed low HP in the mid lane, goes for him right there. Nara is back from the base. Orianna has rotated up as well. Pretty out of mana, but she can still do something. You can see it's just very smart, calculated plays here from the Nocturne, and the jungle tracking really coming in there to understand that Kha'Zix is probably on the Herald if he just was topside and there is nobody showing up in top or mid because they're in base or roaming bot as Orianna was in this case. You can see Nara is looking for the fight here, chasing. Kha'Zix is half health, Yone half health, and this is just going to be an easy, simple fight for them. They've got more players, they've got stronger players because the Nocturne has been making good decisions. Nara's been playing relatively well. Orianna's got prio. Yone inting here for the wave a little bit, surprised he doesn't die. And here he's just going to back off, I think, because at this stage there's not really much more a Nocturne can do other than throw out a Q maybe. And he's just going to have to wait for that ulti cooldown to come back up before he can really do anything. And Janna did int it a little bit there, which is a bit unfortunate, but Nocturne has secured the Herald, which is the most important thing. This will allow him to break a tower somewhere, secure first tower gold, secure the plates, because that's going to be falling down pretty soon at 14 minutes. There are no good gank opportunities right now on the map, so Nocturne is just back here onto the full clear. Kha'Zix should be at the bottom side of the map at this stage, but at this stage jungle tracking does start to get a bit hazy because we are starting to get closer to the mid game, and a tower should be falling quite soon with this Herald from Nocturne, which will officially mark the mid game for us. If you pay attention to the map here, you can see that Kha'Zix just went for a gank on the bottom lane. Nocturne is looking to rotate here, but as you can see, there are 4 players here. Kalista's about to die. If Nocturne ultis in here, at best he goes 1 for 1, which is not really a smart decision. So it's a lot smarter for him to just come here, drop the Herald mid, secure the first tower, get that bonus gold, get those plates, instead of trading 1 for 1, which would be terrible because not only does he lose this opportunity of Herald Raptors invade this Kha'Zix red buff, but he'd also be giving up a bounty, and that's one of the biggest ways to throw a game. Control ward placement, really nice there, really smart. Ultis onto the Kha'Zix, and there you go, that's a nice pick, and you can see he's coming in from behind to find this Karma now as well. You can see this Nocturne is just making such smart, calculated plays. Really good moves, really good map awareness, jungle tracking, everything is there. Q miss is not there though, unfortunately. Would have been another kill. But this is absolutely huge from the Nocturne. You can see he's having a huge impact just by playing around that ulti cooldown and making smart decisions here. And this should also be another tower for his team, which is really good. Nocturne is really strong right now, so there's no reason to be afraid of the Singed here. You can just fight. Kalista's coming in. Karma is absolutely low. He's got really good peel from the Janna, and now he's just going to sit back here a little bit. It's not like a fight he wants to really continue unless he can actually get in here with his Kalista going absolutely ham on the enemy team. But usually after ulti and a few plays like this, you usually just want to sit behind your teammates and just wait for anyone that comes in so you can E them, root them, fear them, and actually do some damage, because Nocturne's not very good at chasing players. He's more so about catching people out with the ulti and helping the teammates out. And you see, does pick up the Krugs there as well. And this is just going to open up the Dragon here. Really huge impact from that play Nocturne made, as you can see here. On the recall here, Nocturne nearly finishes off with his second item. This guy pretty much always builds the same thing every single game, so you can just copy his build and use it every single game. The only thing you might want to adapt is the boots. Maybe you'll want Murktread some games, maybe you'll want a Wit's End like third item, but for his main build, he pretty much just goes the same thing every game, which you can replicate. Ulti is up, Karma is just out of position there. She's not allowed to even show her face on the map when Nocturne's alive. You can see pick off with the Karma, and now he has his top laner and his support here for support onto the Kha'Zix invade on his Booba. And this is a bit of a messy fight right now. Kalista is slowly rotating over. Nocturne just flashes straight out here because he has a huge bounty on his head, and that is something he needs to protect very dearly, because if he gives that up, there's definitely opportunity for the enemy team to come back here. But yeah, it's definitely the smart decision to just flash out there, let Orianna get the minion wave there in the bottom lane, take away some of Kha'Zix's camps. And a little bit overplayed there, but it's completely fine. They still did find the pick and got out. Nocturne is not continuing with his clear here because we can obviously see Herald is spawning soon. Naris finding a pick onto the Kha'Zix, and for fights you have to be in every single fight you can be in during the mid game. Only if it's a bad fight like a 4 versus 5, which we saw earlier on where Nocturne had to flash, those are the kind of fights you want to avoid. But when you see this, everyone's grouped up, we're strong, you got to be around, and your camps are really not all that important. So they do pick up 2 kills here, so this is going to help them with establishing vision control. They're going to be able to pick up the second Herald and hopefully look to continue pushing this lead onto the enemy team without any throws. Herald has been secured, Nocturne has ulti, Karma is showing up in the middle lane, Janna and Kalista are around for backup. Ulti is a little bit early, but this is preventing vision from the enemy team. We have to be cautious that Orianna is in the top lane, and this could turn into a bad fight, but nope, they just completely find 2 easy picks here, and there's just no way the enemy team can turn this around when Nocturne is having such a huge impact on the game. You can see someone showed up there over the blast cone, he's chasing, he's looking for more kills here. If he can kill this Kha'Zix as well, there's going to be a really good Herald opportunity onto the bottom lane tower, maybe the mid lane tower, while the enemy is dead and they are unable to defend. Could definitely look for an inhibitor here, or at least look for all of Kha'Zix's camps here. At this stage, Nocturne obviously has a lot of gold on him. You can see on the recall, he finishes off the Black Cleaver, and he does buy a stopwatch next. He does this every single game, as I've said, guys. You definitely want to copy this. In the mid game, that stopwatch is huge because you can engage Fear Someone's stopwatch yourself and still be healthy for the fight. So it's absolutely huge utility, and then when you build it into the GA, you can pretty much just do the same thing again. But yeah, he does go for the recall there because he's got that huge bag of gold on him. Dragon's going to be spawning soon, and they're not really going to siege without finding any picks or anything, so no point of staying on the map there. Finds the Karma here. Orianna is looking to play the vision control game and find a pick, and unfortunately Nocturne is fat fingering his stopwatch, so that does go to waste here. But with this whole team for backup here and with his lead, he can just pretty much walk into the enemy jungle here, but definitely does not continue walking in when his teammates are walking back to the mid lane to push out the wave so they can look for that dragon and potentially look for some more picks. Playing a really smart vision game here, walking wide around into the bush to try and find this Yone here, but they should definitely be careful not to overplay this. As you can see, they are overplaying it. Orianna is in the top lane, Nara's in the bottom lane, and the throws are happening. Thankfully, it's a 1-for-1. Orianna ulti does come in through the TP, and Nocturne is trying to find some more here, but as you can see, he does get kited very easily. Without that ulti, it's going to be hard for him to do anything, and this is definitely not a fight that he wants to continue chasing because he does have that huge bounty on him, and the Ocean Drake is up. They're nearly on the soul. Baron is going to be spawning soon. Herald looks to be expiring soon as well, so Nocturne should drop this after finishing off his Raptors. You can see everyone's grouping up here on the Baron trying to get vision control, and they do find the Singed here. I think he was trying to place a ward or something, and he does just get completely caught out of position there. You can see when you make good decisions on the Nocturne, when you get fed with your ulti, you can pretty much just delete someone from the game. and make it 5 versus 4. It's extremely obnoxious to play against a good Nocturne player. You can see they do start up the Baron as well, and they are looking for a fight here. Nocturne's got to be quite careful. He will have to fall here, but his teammates will be able to clean this one up. The bounty does go over, but this does open up the Baron, and this should allow his team to get closer to closing out this game. You can see here that when you're ahead, you're allowed to get vision control in the enemy jungle, and they're just looking again for a pick. With the Nocturne ulti, it should be relatively simple to find one, and in a 5 versus 4, they should be able to siege down the enemy base. You can see Gnar has found himself in a bit of a fight. Yon's looking, checking bushes. He does pick up the Janna here, surprisingly, which is a bit unfortunate, so they might have to just chill a little bit before they do find their pick once Janna respawns. I really don't like how Nocturne is just walking in blind here. We do see the Singed and the Yone on the bottom lane, but the enemy team still has 3 players that could have actually been very bad, but it turned out okay. But yeah, I don't like face checking Fog of War, especially when it's 5 versus 4 and we're waiting for our support to respawn before we can actually do something. So, bit of a mistake, but because he's so ahead, it goes okay. Again, you can see Nocturne is looking for a pick right before the dragon spawns. He does spot the Jinx, who's very low HP. It's just gonna walk out of here. I think he would be strong enough here to 1 versus 2 Kha'Zix and Karma. You can see he's up 3 levels on the Kha'Zix. He's got an item advantage over him, and that Karma's not really scary at all. So he does find 2 picks, which is absolutely huge. This is gonna allow them to secure up the soul and maybe finally suffocate the enemy team out of the game. Again, playing a smart vision control game, trying to look for picks. This Nocturne ulti at this stage is very low cooldown. They do spot the Kha'Zix, but it's not in range, so he's looking for the Karma here so he can get onto the Jinx with a bit of extra closing distance. He does have a GA here, so he's not even afraid because his teammates are around to assist, and they don't even really need the Orianna here. You can see the Nocturne has just snowballed this game so well. His team is up 13,000 gold at this stage, and this will be the game end. So I hope you did learn something. If you did, I'd appreciate a like, a comment of what you learned, whatever it is. And I would recommend, if you want to learn more, check out my other videos, or check this one out here where you can see more about a jungle pathing strategy that's for different champions. Anyway, thanks for watching.